My husband's mother called me Barren at Thanksgiving dinner, so I revealed her darkest secret. The fork clattered against my plate when Linda started laughing. That awful, shrieking cackle that made my spine go cold every time I heard it. She was holding cord at the head of the table like some kind of deranged queen, her face flushed pink from 3 glasses of wine. "Oh, sweetheart." She cooed at me across the turkey and stuffing. "I'm just saying, maybe if you focused less on your little career and more on actually giving my son a family, we wouldn't be having this conversation." 23 pairs of eyes turned toward me. Jake's entire extended family, all crammed into his parents' dining room for Thanksgiving, all watching to see how the barren daughter-in-law would react to being called out. Again, my husband's hand found mine under the table and squeezed. A warning or support, I couldn't tell anymore. "Mom," Jake said quietly, "we've talked about this." Linda waved her hand dismissively, nearly knocking over her wine glass. "I'm just being honest, Jacob. 5 years of marriage and not even a pregnancy scare. There's obviously something wrong with her." The her dripped with enough venom to kill a horse. Jake's sister Emma shifted uncomfortably in her chair, her own 2 kids fighting over a dinner roll beside her. His father Tom just kept eating, eyes fixed on his plate like he'd gone deaf. "Classic. Actually, Linda," I said, setting down my fork with deliberate calm, "there's nothing wrong with me. The fertility specialist confirmed that 6 months ago." Her eyes narrowed into slits. "Well, then perhaps you're just not trying hard enough. Or maybe she leaned forward conspiratorially, loud enough for everyone to hear. You're doing something to prevent it. I've heard about women like you who trick men into marriage then refuse to give them children." The air left the room. Jake's grip on my hand tightened to the point of pain. "That's enough," he said, but his voice lacked any real force. It was always like this. Him playing defense while she went on the attack. Never actually standing up to her. Just trying to calm the situation until I eventually backed down. But something in me had broken during that laugh. That cruel, gleeful laugh that said she knew exactly how much her words hurt, and she loved every second of it. I'd spent 5 years taking her abuse. 5 years of backhanded compliments and invasive questions and public humiliation. 5 years of Jake promising things would get better while they only got worse. 5 years of biting my tongue and being the bigger person. I was done being the bigger person. "You know what's interesting, Linda?" I said, my voice unnaturally steady. She raised one perfectly penciled eyebrow. "What's that, dear?" "I was going through some old boxes in Jake's childhood bedroom last month. You know, the ones you asked me to organize." Her face went very still, and I found the most fascinating photograph. From 1987, I think. A beautiful baby girl with the name, Sarah Catherine, written on the back in your handwriting. The color drained from Linda's face so fast I thought she might faint. Tom's fork clattered onto his plate. Emma's mouth fell open. Jake turned to look at me, confusion written all over his face. "What are you talking about?" he asked. I kept my eyes locked on Linda. "Want to tell him, or should I?" "You little euro." Linda started to rise from her chair. "You had a daughter," I said, raising my voice over hers. "Before Jake and Emma. You got pregnant at 17 and your parents forced you to give her up for adoption." The room erupted. Emma gasped. Jake's Aunt Carol literally dropped her glass, red wine spreading across the white tablecloth like blood. His Uncle Mark started shouting something I couldn't make out. But I kept talking, loud enough to cut through the chaos. "And you know what the really interesting part is? According to the letter I found tucked into that photo album, the one from the adoption agency, she tried to contact you 8 years ago, when she turned 18, and you never responded." Linda's face had gone from white to purple. "How dare you," she hissed. "Those were private euro." "Private?" I laughed, and it came out harsh and bitter. "You want to talk about privacy? You just announced to 23 people that you think I'm deliberately avoiding pregnancy. You've spent 5 years commenting on my body, my fertility, my worth as a woman and a wife. But God forbid someone violate your privacy." Tom finally spoke. "Linda, is this true?" She whirled on him, eyes blazing. "Don't you dare take her side. Don't you dare, euro. Is it true?" He repeated, each word dropping like a stone. The silence that followed was deafening. Linda sank back into her chair, her whole body trembling. "Yes," she whispered. Emma made a sound like she'd been punched in the stomach. "You have another daughter?" she asked. "I have a sister." Jake just sat there, staring at his mother like he'd never seen her before. I was 17, Linda said, her voice breaking. I didn't have a choice. My parents euro. Bullshit, I interrupted. You had a choice when she reached out to you as an adult. You had a choice every single day for 8 years to respond to her, to acknowledge her existence. But you didn't. You don't know what you're talking about, Linda snapped, some of her venom returning. You don't know what it was like euro. You're right, I said, standing up. I don't know what it's like to abandon a child. But I do know what it's like to be told I'm less of a woman because I don't have one. I grabbed my purse from the back of my chair. I also know what it's like to keep other people's secrets, to protect them even when they don't deserve it. I found that photo 3 months ago, Linda. 3 months of you continuing to torture me about my fertility while you literally gave away your own child. Jake finally found his voice. Emily, wait a euro. No, I said, turning to face my husband. I'm done waiting. I'm done being patient while your mother destroys me piece by piece, and you just sit there making excuses for her. His face crumpled. That's not fair. I've tried euro. Have you? I asked. Have you really? Because from where I'm standing, you've tried to keep the peace. You've tried to make everyone happy. But you haven't actually tried to protect me. I looked around the table at all those shocked faces. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Enjoy the turkey. I made it to my car before the tears started. My hands shook so hard I could barely get the key into the ignition. What had I done? The high of finally standing up for myself was already fading, replaced by a sick feeling in the pit of my stomach. I'd just blown up my husband's entire family. I'd exposed a secret that wasn't mine to tell. I'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. My phone started buzzing before I even left the driveway. Jake. Then Emma. Then numbers I didn't recognize. I turned it off and drove. I ended up at my best friend Sarah's apartment, even though I knew she was hosting her own Thanksgiving. She took one look at my face and pulled me inside. What happened? She asked, guiding me to her couch. Her husband Mark and their guests tactfully disappeared into the kitchen. I told her everything. The years of abuse from Linda. The fertility testing we'd been going through. The photograph I'd found. The explosion at dinner. Sarah listened without interrupting, her face growing more and more horrified. Holy shit, she finally said when I finished. Emily, that's a lot. I shouldn't have done it, I said, fresh tears spilling down my cheeks. I shouldn't have said anything. It wasn't my secret to tell. Maybe not, Sarah said carefully. But she wasn't exactly respecting your privacy either. 2 wrongs don't make a right. No, she agreed. But sometimes people need to be called out on their bullshit. And your mother-in-law has needed it for a long time. My phone lit up on the coffee table where I'd set it. 47 missed calls. 63 text messages. You should probably talk to Jake, Sarah said gently. I know, but I didn't move. I spent the night on Sarah's couch, ignoring the increasingly frantic messages from my husband. By morning, the story had spread. Jake's cousin had apparently posted about it on Facebook. Family drama at Thanksgiving. Mill's secret daughter exposed. The comments were exactly what you'd expect. Half the people calling me a monster for airing family secrets. Half calling Linda a hypocrite. Everyone having an opinion about a situation they knew nothing about. I finally called Jake around noon. Where are you? He asked immediately, his voice hoarse like he'd been up all night. Sarah's. Are you okay? Are you? A long pause. My mom's had a breakdown, he said finally. Dad took her to the hospital last night. Panic attack, they think. She's home now, but… Emily, what you died euro. What I did. I felt anger flare fresh and hot in my chest. Jake, did you hear what she called me? Did you hear how she humiliated me in front of your entire family? Of course I did. And it was wrong. But you can't just euro. Can't just what? Stand up for myself? Defend my value as a human being? You exposed something she's been carrying for 40 years. And she's been attacking my fertility for 5 years. She literally called me Barren at Thanksgiving dinner. She didn't use that word euro. She might as well have. I was shouting now. And you know what the worst part is? You're defending her. Again. Even now, after everything, you're more worried about her feelings than mine. Silence on the line. That's not true, he said quietly. Isn't it? When was the last time you told your mother to stop? Not just that's enough, Mom, in a weak voice. When did you actually stand up to her and tell her that her treatment of me is unacceptable? More silence. That's what I thought, I said. Emily, please come home. We need to talk about this. We've needed to talk about this for 5 years, Jake. The only difference is now everyone knows why I finally snapped. I hung up. Sarah appeared with coffee and bagels. So, she said, what's the plan? I have no idea. Over the next week, the fallout continued. Emma reached out, surprisingly supportive. I'm not saying what you did was right, she texted. But Mom has been horrible to you. And I'm honestly still processing that I have a sister somewhere. Jake's father called. I don't condone how you handled this, Tom said, his voice gruff. But Linda needed a wake-up call. She's been out of control for years, and I've been too much of a coward to stop it. That actually made me cry. Some validation, even complicated validation, felt like water in a desert. Jake kept calling. I kept not answering. I wasn't ready to face him yet. Wasn't ready to have the conversation about whether our marriage could survive this. Because it wasn't just about Thanksgiving dinner. It was about 5 years of him choosing his mother's comfort over my dignity. 5 years of me hoping things would change. 5 years of slowly losing myself to keep the peace. The photograph was still in my purse. I took it out sometimes, looking at that tiny baby face. Sarah Catherine. Somewhere out there, Jake had a half-sister who'd spent 8 years wondering why her birth mother didn't want to know her. And I'd turned her existence into a weapon. The guilt was eating me alive. On day 8, someone knocked on Sarah's door at 7 a.m. I opened it to find a woman about my age standing there, tears streaming down her face. Are you Emily? She asked. My stomach dropped. Yes. Who are you? I'm Sarah, she said. Sarah Catherine. And I need to know if what I saw on Facebook is true. Everything stopped. I stared at this woman Euro, at Linda's daughter, at Jake's sister Euro, and felt the world tilt sideways. She had Linda's eyes. Jake's nose. Emma's smile. Oh my God, I whispered. Is it true? She asked again. Did Linda? Did my birth mother really try to pretend I never existed? I let her inside. We sat at Sarah's kitchen table, and I told her everything I knew. Which wasn't much, but it was more than she'd ever had before. I reached out when I turned 18, Sarah Catherine said, her voice shaking. I just wanted to know her, to understand where I came from. And she never responded. Not a single word in 8 years. I'm so sorry, I said. Why did she do it? Why give me up and then refuse to even acknowledge me when I tried to connect? I don't know. Shame, maybe? Fear? Linda's not exactly the most emotionally mature person I've ever met. Sarah Catherine laughed bitterly. That's the understatement of the century based on what I've been reading online. How did you even find out about this? My cousin saw the Facebook post and sent it to me. She remembered I'd been searching for my birth mother and the names matched up. We sat in silence for a moment. I shouldn't have said anything, I finally admitted. It wasn't my secret to tell. I was angry and hurt, and I wanted to hurt her back, and I used you to do it. I'm so sorry. Sarah Catherine reached across the table and took my hand. Don't apologize, she said. You gave me answers I've been looking for my whole life. Was it messy? Yeah, but I'm glad I know the truth. What are you going to do? I asked. I want to meet them, she said. My birth mother. My siblings. I want to look them in the eye and ask them why. I don't think Linda's in any state of Euro. I don't care, Sarah Catherine said firmly. She's had 8 years to reach out to me, to give me closure, to be a decent human being. Now it's my turn. I gave her Jake's number. Watching her walk away, I felt a strange mix of pride and terror. I'd set something in motion that I couldn't control, something that was going to hurt a lot of people, but maybe something that needed to happen. Jake called 2 hours later. She's here, he said, his voice strangled. Sarah, our sister. She's at my parents' house. I know. She came to see me first. Emily, what have you done? I told the truth, I said. That's all I did. Tell the truth. The truth is destroying my family. Your family was already destroyed, Jake. It was just hiding behind your mother's lies and your father's silence and your refusal to rock the boat. That's not fire Euro. Life's not fair. I shouted. You think it's fair that I've spent 5 years being told I'm worthless because I don't have kids? You think it's fair that your sister has spent 8 years being ignored by the woman who gave birth to her? Where was your concern for fairness then? I could hear voices in the background. Raised voices. I have to go, Jake said. But we're not done talking about this. We haven't really started talking about this, I replied. That's the problem. The confrontation at the Phillips house made the news. Not national news, but local news. Birth mother refuses to meet daughter after decades of silence. Apparently, Linda had locked herself in her bedroom and refused to come out. Tom had let Sarah Catherine in. Emma had sat with her for hours, looking at baby pictures, comparing features, crying together. Jake had called me 6 times during the whole thing. I'd answered once, heard the chaos in the background, and hung up.